So I'm going to be showing you how to make Christmas crackers from home using recycling that you should be able to find around your house. So you'll be making a cracker and a hat, and I'll also show you how to make a little party hat like this if you'd rather make one of those. We're going to be including a joke, so jokes at the ready, and I'm going to be showing you how to make a little badge using a safety pin and just some paper and card and pens. And I'll also show you how to make a bow so you can decorate your crackers with a bow if you'd like. So I'm going to clear out this out the way and we're going to get started. So to make your crackers, you're going to need some paper, so old Christmas paper, even brown paper, any kind of wrapping paper. Thin is quite good for crackers so that they tear. You're going to want some toilet rolls. You're going to need some scissors and sellotape, a ruler to do some measuring. If you have any tissue paper to make your cracker hats, that's good, but if you don't, you can always use some thin paper. We're going to need some little scraps of paper like this to write your jokes on. And you can either use the same paper that you're doing your crackers with, or you can even use printer paper in order to help you make your bows like one of these. If you have any string, that would be good to tie up your crackers. So you can use string or paper raffia string, or you can even use wool if that's what you've got. To make your badges, you're going to need some Pritt stick and a couple of small safety pins and some card circles. So you want to make sure that these fit inside of your loo roll tubes, and you can just cut them out of packaging from the kitchen. And that's everything. A pencil will also help. So to start with, you need to cut a rectangle of paper. I'm using this dark green parcel paper, and it needs to be 30 centimeters along its length for it to be long enough for a cracker with handles. This width here, I got about 18 should do it, but it will depend on the circumference. So you just need it to be long enough that when you wrap it around, there is some overlap like that. So to start with, you put your toilet roll in the middle like this, and you want to roll it over. And use a piece of sellotape in the middle here. And it also helps just to put a small piece on the ends, which helps maintain the shape around your handles when you fasten it up. So once you've got it like this with the tube in the middle, I have some of these which are actually cracker snaps. You can get them for not very much at different places online or in craft stores. But if you don't have one of these, you can always obviously have instructions just to say bang when you use the cracker, which is what I always did as a kid. So if you place it inside like this, if you do have a cracker snap, and you can see there, if you just put a little piece of tape to hold it in place when you're making the cracker, that will help so it doesn't fall out. So we're just putting a little piece of tape over the end like that. And if you start at that end, what you're doing is you're scrunching them together like this. And don't worry too much if the handle squashes too. You can get your hand in it and push it out like this. So if you use your hands to get it into a nice shape. Now, you can use a piece of string here. So I have some bits of string. I've also got some kind of paper string, and you can also just use a little bit of wool. So whatever you have on hand. If you don't have anything like that, you can actually push it in like this. You can see how it's keeping its shape even like that. So you don't even have to use string if you don't want to, but it's quite nice to add a little bit of colour. So I'm going to use this red and yellow, and I'm just going to place it around here. Like that. I'm going to wrap it around a couple of times so it's got a bit of colour to it, and then I'm going to tie it in a knot. Okay, so you can cut the ends off. I quite like them like that. And that's one end. Now you will be doing it with this end, but first we need to make the things that go into the cracker. So things that a cracker have are a hat, a gift, and normally a joke. So to make your cracker hat, you can make a traditional cracker hat like this, but actually make it so it fits all of the members of your family, which I think is something which most people haven't actually experienced because they normally fall over your eyes. So what you need is some tissue paper of any colour like this. You can actually make it with very thin printer paper, so white paper that you might have at home in your printer. Just follow the same process. You might have to stick two pieces together to make it long enough, and then you can colour it in and decorate it however you want. So once you get it like this, if you measure it around your head, so at whatever size you need it, and then what you'll do is you will tape it at the side. So put a piece of tape across here. If you've got any extra pieces like that, just fold it over. And then you can see you might end up with this extra piece. So if you do end up with an extra piece, you use a pair of scissors to chop it off. Like this. Now at the moment it's just a band like this, and to make it into a traditional cracker shape, if you fold it in rectangles, so about this size, it doesn't really matter what size, but just keep folding it over until it's all wound up like that. And then if you use your scissors and take a triangle like this out of one end, you'll find that when you open it up, you'll end up with a crown. Obviously I've done it as a traditional Christmas cracker shape, but you could cut a curve and then you'd end up with a wave, so you can make your own shaped crackers. So that's your hat done. You can see I've also made this hat. So how I've made this one is I've taken lots of different colour pieces. So before I've done the triangles at the top here, I've used lots of different bits of tissue paper, so that's quite handy. It's quite nice to have a multicoloured one, but also if you've only got smaller pieces of this kind of tissue paper, maybe from gifts that have arrived and you've kept it to one side, it means that you can use up all those little scraps to make a multicoloured hat. I'm also going to show you now a different type of hat I make for the crackers. So for the crackers at home that I make, I sometimes make these little party hats, and I use elastic to attach them so that they can be held on under the chin. I think they're quite funny looking, and it's fun at Christmas to see all of your family wearing silly little party hats. And this way you can use up little scraps of Christmas paper or packaging that you might have collected. And they're really easy to make. They do look a little bit too big for a cracker, but what we do is we can fold them down like this and around like that, and then they can slot into the cracker, and you can just unfold them on Christmas Day. It's quite fun to have something different, so I'm going to show you how to make one of these ones in case that's what you'd like to do. So to make one of these hats, you're going to need a semicircle in order to make your cone. So you can do this using a compass. It's just a piece of cardboard with two holes in. If you hold one down like this at one end and draw around, it's a little bit easier if someone's holding the paper down. So you end up like this with semicircle, and we cut this out. So once you've got your semicircle like this, you want to find about the middle and then twist it round like this and you made yourself a little cone shape. So you could decorate this. I've done it out of brown paper so that I can put a colourful pom-pom on. So you've got your cone like that, and you just want to put a piece of sellotape that holds it together like this. So to make a pom-pom like this on the top, which is quite fun, you can just get any scraps of paper you have. So I've got some little pieces of paper, and you just want to cut down like this, leaving a section like that at the top. And I've done this with different colours like this. I'm going to wrap them up together, and if you'd like, you can chop into the tops like this, and that just makes them different lengths and kind of makes the pom-pom look a bit fluffier. So if you keep all of these pieces to one side, I do actually have something you could use them for later. So if you line them all up like this, and you just want to roll around like this until they're all together, and you can kind of move them about a bit. So you can use any colours you want in this. If you're using coloured wrapping paper like this, they make quite nice little colourful pieces, and you can use up tiny scraps that you cut off when you're wrapping your presents. So you can see at the top here there's a little hole because I've not rolled it that tight, but that might be a bit small. So if you squish it down like this and chop it off so it's a little bit bigger, we just want to squish this so that it fits into the top of your cone. So you can pull it through like this, and that's the pom-pom attached. So you want to put a piece of sellotape, it's a little bit fiddly, but you want to put a piece of sellotape in there that just holds the paper to one side. So if you use quite a big piece and go in, quite hard to show you on the camera, but can you see that? Get your hand in and squish it down, so you can see it's just holding it onto the side of the hat. And that is your hat made. So now you just need to attach a piece of elastic. So I've got a piece of longer elastic here, but if you have been using reusable masks, if you cut off the elastic before you recycle your mask and tie them together, you should get a piece that's about this long. It will have a little knot in the middle, but there's nothing wrong with that. And you can either use a stapler or sellotape to attach these to the inside of your hat. So I will show you how I do that. So one of the options is to use a stapler. So you want to hold it on the inside like this, get your stapler over the elastic, push down, and you can see there it's being held. You can always use a piece of sellotape. If you're using a piece of sellotape, what I would advise you doing is, if you put it on like this and then attach it in facing upwards, this just means that it's less likely to pull off. When you pull this down over your head like this, sometimes if you put it so that it's coming out the bottom here, this piece of elastic will just pull free from the sellotape. That holds it on a little bit better. And so now you have a silly little party hat like this to add to your cracker. So to show you how to fold it up, if you fold it in half like this, fold it down, it will get some creases, but don't worry, you can open it back up again afterwards. So if you get it like this, and then you want to get your cracker and push it down. And if it won't go all the way, just give it a push with a pencil so it goes right down into the loo roll inside. So next up, we're going to make a little badge. So this is made with a safety pin and just a piece of cardboard, and you can make all sorts of things. You could draw a picture on it. I've used collage to make a little reindeer and this Christmas bauble. These little pieces on the bauble you can see are just made from the scraps from making the Pom Pom. That way they're nice and the colours match with your crackers, which is quite nice. And you can see here I have stuck on with PVA glue all of the scraps. So when you make your crackers, you'll get all of these triangles. So you could use some of those pieces to stick down onto your cardboard. Just make sure when you're cutting out the circle for your cracker that it will actually fit inside your cracker, because you don't want to end up with one too big. So this one here, the reindeers are sticking out sideways, because if they were sticking out the top, they wouldn't be able to fit inside. So you can see on this one, I've written a little Christmas message. So these circles I've cut out are just from cereal box type cardboard, so any kind of packaging you've got at home, and then you can just use the plain side. If you have any nicely coloured card, you could always cut it out of that as well. Once you have made your card like this, we get a safety pin, and you can see the side that opens, be careful, and this side's the side you want to stick down. So if you get a piece of tape in like this and put it on the back of your cracker, make sure you get your nail in. If you close it up, less likely to hurt yourself, and push it in like this. Any bits that stick out like that, you can just trim off with a pair of scissors, and then you've got your little badge as a prize. So if you would like to make one like the bauble, you can see I've cut down some of these little scraps, and then to make this piece at the top, I've just used a piece of cardboard like this, and I've made a loop. So I've cut out a shape that's a loop, but I've actually cut it out a little bit too big. So you can see that's a little bit too big, and that's so that on the back here, you've got enough space to tape it down. So you can tape this down onto the back. Remember, if you've got any of these pieces of tape that goes over, you can just cut them off, or you can fold them over onto the front, and then you've got it like this. And then you can see on this one I've just wrapped a piece of paper around. So if you've got a long one like this, you can always wrap it around the top to give it the little attachment that a bauble's got. So once you've done that, you want to pop your bauble in like that, and you see it in there. If you just use, again, a pencil to push it in, helps. And then all we got left is the joke. So every cracker has a joke, or maybe you could put a fun and interesting Christmas fact. I found out today that male reindeers lose their antlers around winter time. So Santa's reindeers must be female reindeers, because female reindeers keep their antlers all year long. So that's a good Christmas fact. So we can get a piece of paper, so a little leftover piece of paper, or you could just use white paper. You could even just use the back of some of extra wrapping paper, and you just want to write your joke onto that, or your Christmas fact. So I've got a little joke that I've written on this scrap of paper. Who delivers presents to cats? Santa Paws. So I'm going to give this cracker to my niece, who really loves cats. So we're going to slot that in there as well. We want to pop it in. And if it won't go all the way down because your hat and everything's in it, you can fold it in half and pop it inside. Now, I don't know whether you open your Christmas crackers at the dinner table, or maybe you do it before that. So sometimes I put all of these little pieces of paper in so that when the cracker cracks, it all falls down like confetti. But remember not to do that if you're at the dinner table, because you can end up with lots of paper inside of your Christmas dinner, which I don't think anybody wants. I think everyone wants to eat their Christmas dinner. So once you've got that, you want to close up the other end. So we're doing the same thing as last time, and we're bringing it all together, and we're just popping our hand inside like this to open it out. And you'll see, if you're using a cracker snap, that it might stick out the end, but we can trim that off in a minute. And that's because you're making your paper shorter when you're scrunching it up like this. So I am going to tie this in a knot. I'm going to wrap it round again, tie it in the knot on the back, like that. And then if you cut this off like that, and you could add another little piece of tape on there to hold it on. Just helps with making sure that your cracker bang actually works, because I'm sure we've all had a Christmas cracker where the bang doesn't work and you have to go back and do it afterwards. So that is our Christmas cracker done. So you can decorate the outside if you've got plainer material, or if you want to, you can add a bow. So you can make a bow out of paper like one of these and stick it on like this. So I have a green one that I'm going to put on this cracker like this. And you can just use a loop of tape. So if you get yourself a piece of tape like this and roll it up so it's sticky on the outside, and then you can just put the sticky bit on here and turn it round and place it on your cracker, and then you've got a lovely cracker with a bow. So to make a bow, you need a strip of paper like this. It really depends on the size of bow you want, so you could try with different sizes. But what you want to do is you want to fold your piece of paper in half. Now I'm using card like this, but again you could cut a strip of paper from pattern paper like this. So if you use a ruler and cut a strip down, that would also work. And once you've got half your piece like this, you're going to be cutting out a fish shape. So I'm going to draw it on. You don't have to draw it on because it will leave pencil marks. But what you could do is you could cut out a template. So I've cut out this template, and that's the one that I use, so I know what size it's going to be. So you can see this part with the bend. That's where you want the head of your fish to be. And you want to draw it like this. So this is what you do once you've got a template. And so if you're making lots of bows, if you work out the shape of your fish the first time and the size of the bow you want, then you can keep using this. It saves a bit of time. You can see like this, it's that kind of a shape, but you could also just draw one with your hand. So this one's quite even, but it doesn't really have to be. So if you start at the folded end and we draw around like this and out and around like this and out. You want this bit here to be quite thin, and you can also make different shapes with your bow at the end. So you can see this bow I've done straight and I've left them like this, but on this cracker I've cut a little shape out of it so it looks a little bit more like a ribbon. So once you've got your shape like this, if you have used pencils, you can cut this side so you're cutting off your pencil marks. Now if you keep one of these pieces and cut off a piece like this, it doesn't have to be straight, doesn't have to be angled like that, and you'll see this, what we use this for a minute. But if we just put that down for now, and we have this kind of a shape. Now we want to bring this thin part into the middle like this, and then the same on this side. So if we pull that piece out, so you can change the shape of it by moving these, and you can kind of bend them out like this if you want it to have a bit more shape. And we need to tape this bit in the middle so that your bow stays in shape, and that's what this piece is good for. So it's a little bit fiddly, so you want to start with folding it around like this and just keep going around with the piece of paper until you got it on the back like that. And you just be using a little piece of sellotape here. So you only need a very little piece. So we'll get a piece like this and we'll stick it on the back. It doesn't matter if it's a bit messy because that bit's going on your cracker. So I'm going to get this red cracker that was on the video at the beginning, and I'm going to put this big yellow bow on it like this. So you can see how a big bow will make quite a plain coloured cracker a little bit more decorated. And you could add colour to the sides, and if you're using paper like this that isn't shiny, you can actually draw on it with pencils as well. This one is actually just brown paper, so this, you can get this from an envelope. So if you really can't find any leftover coloured paper at home, you can make quite a nice cracker with just materials that you can get through the post. And I've made a smaller bow on this one, and I've used white paper there for it. So you can see you can make a nice set of individual crackers for your table at home. And maybe different people in your family have got different favourite colours or favourite animals, and you could make the jokes so that they fit the person, or you could make the badges so that they are the favourites of the person whose cracker it is. So it's a lot more fun. It's a really fun activity for the build up to Christmas, and you can make personal crackers, and most importantly, you can make hats that actually fit your head.